It was the Wild West of YouTube, you know?
It was, yeah.
That was great.
Everything's like so polished now. Everyone is either like trying to copy Mr. Beast. Which,
Yeah, that's a whole section of YouTube, isn't it?
that is a whole section of YouTube.
It's like they're all going for the same genre, and it's like, what happened to like telling a story?
The biggest drawback with this blunt era of YouTube is pursuing sensationalism as a replacement for a good story or a genuine personality. The essence of the website is shifting away from creatively expressing yourself and towards satisfying the never-ending hunger of modern attention spans. This is helped by the fact that videos aren't ranked by their actual quality, but by metrics that indicate how many ads will be shoved in a viewer's eyes. YouTube used to be a place where people were generally being themselves, but these days it feels to have any meaningful success, you have to make attention-grabbing, watered-down slop. Probably the biggest bearer of this corporate-friendly shift is the edgy era of YouTube. It was a time where it was not only easier to express one's creativity, but also a period when almost anything was able to be uploaded and gain traction. For better or for worse, the site was full of personalities sharing their stories and ideas. Looking back at this now nostalgic era, one name seems to stand out more than any other.
Hello? Hey, Bob? Baba Booey.
YouTube between 2015 and 2017 was one of those you just had to be there moments.
Yeah, have you seen fucking Chef?
Specifically, the type of content Filthy Frank and his friends were making was alternative comedy, out there often disgusting jokes that went against every form of traditional entertainment. The chaotic videos were counter to the culture of overly polished TV shows whose little to no entertainment value was already creeping into YouTube. The Filthy Frank show consisted of both its own characters and lore, but also unapologetic parodying and making fun of everyone. Joji played an overly racist, homophobic, and all other types of phobic characters, created to both make fun of people that actually held these beliefs and entertain his audience. His influence truly spread across the entire website, and many YouTubers took a shot at a more chaotic type of content. He's one of the main actors of the YouTube culture at the time, which unapologetically entertained an entire generation. To understand why, despite the badly aged jokes, any young adult still cracks a smile at the mention of Filthy Frank, we need to understand the person behind the movement. Shows that defy traditional forms of entertainment have always been around, but the Wild West era of YouTube created the perfect space for a new generation of entertainers to thrive. George Miller has had a lifelong creative drive. At 15, he launched his first serious YouTube channel, Disaster Music. When the channel didn't gain much traction, he shifted his focus to another passion, music. This sparked an internal conflict over which path he truly wanted to pursue, YouTube videos or music. Initially, he chose music, using his YouTube channel as a platform to promote his work. However, in August of 2011, an innocent joke would shift his opinion and ultimately reshape the internet forever. I made a bet with a friend where if I can get this video to over 10k views, I can punch him in the nuts as hard as I can, so help us out.
I'd like to share with you a little story. I tend to have explosive diarrhea, like shit just flies all over the place.
This is the video that started the Filthy Frank persona, and so the walk between edgy entertainment and straight up toxicity. Always walking on the edge was necessary, as he had to go to further lengths to appeal to Gen Z, a generation born into a way different world compared to their parents. Previously, the contrast between a regular talk show and a crazy one was enough to shock the viewers, but with the generation that has seen the worst things the internet has to offer, his humor had to be even crazier. With such things being said and done, Frank's videos were constantly being demonetized, and before he knew it, the Disaster Music channel was in danger of being deleted, and so he was forced to move to a different channel, one that bore the character's name, TV Filthy Frank. However, beneath the surface level shock value lay a carefully crafted persona that challenged societal norms, confronted taboo subjects, and pushed the boundaries of what was deemed acceptable on the internet. What set Filthy Frank apart from other creators was his ability to subvert expectations and challenge viewers' perceived notions. He cleverly blended satire, dark humor, and social commentary to craft videos that were simultaneously hilarious and thought-provoking. Joji approached his content from a comedic standpoint. He He channeled his unusual sense of humor into these videos. They were meant to serve as a chaotic parody and so an escape from the real world, but most people saw them from a different perspective and often agreed with the obviously exaggerated points. He has created a controversial figure that represents the comment stalkers and trolls lurking in the depths of YouTube. Inadvertently, this attracts the very trolls he's trying to parody, as can be seen in the comment sections for his videos.
It seems like your audience has amassed tons of internet trolls who kind of see you as this internet troll messiah.
The impact that individual behavior has on the normalization of toxic masculinity, racism, ableism, and queerphobia, all consequences that, regardless of intentions, are very real. It created a sort of a bubble where the toxic part of his fan base were way more vocal than others, demanded more and more, and even wanted to control him based on what they thought would be good for him to do. Frank always equally made fun of everyone.
Like over here at the Filthy Frank Show, we support prejudice equality. Everyone gets shit.
But his fans started to disagree. People were fine with, for example, Asians being made fun of, but when he made the jokes about white people, they were like, not cool, man. While Frank always accepted all of his fans, this definitely left an impact on him. The constant bullying would sometimes get to him despite his thick skin. What was making his situation even worse were his health problems, which ironically caused him to have seizures. His vision for his future started to differ from the one his fans had. While Frank wanted to take a step back, his fans wanted him to become filthier and filthier. He knew that if they bullied him into deleting a video discussing his health issues and his vlog channel, it would be extremely difficult to do anything but filth. There was no way he was gonna just stop YouTube and follow his heart, do music, so he was left in sort of a stalemate. George was apprehensive about branching out into music, not only because of the potential backlash from fans, but also because he was unsure if he would succeed in the music industry. So he started off with meme songs, which both went along with his videos, but also carried less fear of failure, as it was still just jokes. On the other hand, his content became filthier than ever. He went all out, leaning more on disgust rather than on swear words and shock humor. If he were to go out, he'd do it with a bang. During this time, he and the so-called Cancer Crew reached the peak of their cultural significance and made what are still regarded as some of the most iconic videos on the platform. The group was a perfect combination of filthy comedy mixed with genuine personalities. They were some of the most respected creators on the site, and together they seemed unstoppable. But YouTube had other plans, and with the event known as the Apocalypse, they aimed to demonetize all the content that wasn't completely squeaky clean. The counterculture of edgy comedy reached a breaking point. When oppositional forces reach critical mass, countercultures can trigger dramatic cultural changes. It just so happened that reaching critical mass resulted in probably the biggest course correction the website ever had. It soon became clear that the content they were making isn't gonna be able to get monetized anymore. These videos still represented their livelihoods, and they weren't going to risk everything they worked on just for some filth. The Cancer Crew pushed the rules to their limits, and instead of regulating it, YouTube just straight up banished that type of content. They took a definitive stance, and they have since only been doubling down, allowing the website's identity to be dictated by an algorithm. The algorithm has completely taken over.
Gone is the internet of old, where you and I made niche jokes.
Everything is brat now.
Your favorite brand has thoughts about the hashtag Drake beef.
And everyone watches Mr. Beast. And why? Because the algorithm is flattening our culture. They're making us more passive just by feeding us so much stuff, by constantly recommending things that we are unlikely to click away from, that we're going to tolerate but not find too surprising or challenging. And who is the average viewer to go slightly out of their way to try to find content that they will enjoy? No, they will just feed on whatever the algorithm provides them. The bygone era of YouTubers was people subscribing to someone and then actually watching that person, but now even a subscription doesn't guarantee that person's videos are recommended to you. YouTube was filled with personalities instead of watered down creators that all do the same thing and are scared to have any opinions in order not to make people click away. What's more, the algorithms pressure artists and other content creators to shape their work in ways that feed the feed.
If you've ever had the sinking feeling that nothing is quite right and that everything just feels a bit recycled, the flattening of culture is the reason why.
I agree that limiting edgy content was necessary, but completely erasing the core essence of a website just to make it more advertiser friendly isn't the right solution. Real life isn't as good as TV shows and similar production quality YouTube videos make it out to be. Behind the scenes, everything is completely different. The edgy era of YouTube embraced that. Life is inherently unfair, but we can shake that feeling by laughing at the absurdity of it all. Though much of the content hasn't aged well, it remains a relic of a raw, unfiltered form of entertainment. Just a few guys with cameras doing ridiculous things around town. Nothing like that can exist anymore. Not specifically toxic and vomit-inducing, but generally fun videos. Content was allowed to be raw and unfiltered, yet still garner success, which is just not the case anymore. I'm not asking for a return of edgy videos, but instead, just some genuine content. YouTube was different from TV and other media due to relatable personalities, laid-back videos, and the randomness of discovering seemingly anything, which just isn't the case anymore. It used to be the better alternative to TV programming, but it now seems to just be becoming the same piece of slop. This watering down obviously doesn't apply to every channel, and there are even quote-unquote crazy entertainers out there today, but none of them are as filthy as Frank and his mates were, or they are still saying racial slurs, but not with the intention of parody, but simply because they find them funny. It's ironic how we switch from good people making not that good content to bad people making okay content. YouTubers of old were mostly successful because they were passionate about making videos and had something to share, while most of the other popular YouTubers these days are there to just exploit children for their attention and money. A common complaint about the edgy era were the toxic comment sections, but that hasn't changed. It just found its place elsewhere. Those that complain have probably never been on Instagram Reels, let alone seen a kick chat. These are still mainstream places that aren't any better than Frank's fans were. Furthermore, the fact that these less restricted ways of making content exist elsewhere proves that audiences still want a more edgy style of humor. Joji realized that even if he wouldn't be getting demonetized, Filthy Frank just wasn't sustainable in the long term. The apocalypse also forced the Cancer Crew to stop making the big collaborations they are known for. Fortunately, the group remains on friendly terms, sometimes giving little reminders of the good old times. The insecurities of switching to music started fading away with each positively received release. Pink Guy's music was a success, not only because it was funny, but also because it was genuinely good. The song Fried Noodles perfectly encapsulates this, as the gritty rap verses transition into a simply gorgeous chorus.
Cause take a look around, motherfucker, everyone's digging me.
I live in a constant state of fear and misery.
It was always clear that George had much more to show than memes, and so he was finally ready to make the decision that was troubling him for his entire life.
Do you miss me anymore?
Filthy Frank quit while he was ahead. He didn't water down his content and cared enough about his fans to not just disappear, but also create a book and try to tie up the channel's lore. The Filthy Frank chapter is closed. Joji's journey has only just begun. There will once be a time when someone will mention to you how they like Joji's music, and you're just gonna be sitting there thinking, oh, if only you knew.
Let's get some pussy tonight.
Follow your dreams.